we're already kind of in the internet space. I brought up the kind of Google thing. That's that big deal that went down with Twitter. But I was scrolling via the news feed on the book, the Book of Faces.
On the Book of Faces.
And I finally saw somebody recently launched a website which is Battle for the Net, and it brings up the issue of net neutrality. Which is a hot topic right now.
Let's talk about this.
And actually, it's interesting that we're out at Capitol Factory, and I'll continue to plug away as I can. But we actually had Senator Cruz come through, Ted Cruz, a few.
He's kind of a hot topic in this space,
in general.
He?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right?
And
okay.
so
really, why? I'm clueless.
See, I don't really. Okay, I'm kind of
net neutrality
vague on my understanding of.
Yeah.
What exactly the lefts and rights of net neutrality is.
Well, I'll do my
but
best.
I know that Senator Ted Cruz has said a lot of stuff that's pissed off a lot of people, especially a lot of young liberal-minded people, and so I just know that his name has popped up with net neutrality.
I would say it's pretty much reduced itself to a team cable, team internet kind of battlefield, more or less. And
that's a really good way of putting it.
Well, so that's so that's one of the ways. Beep, bop, and I like the pop
on his toes, man.
Pop's good, man.
And so that's kind of how they set up the website. Actually, I don't want to take credit for the team internet, team cable, but so that's where they set it up, and literally right under Team Cable, boom, Ted Cruz's face, right next to Verizon, Comcast, AT&T. But yeah, so he came through, did kind of a talk, and it was funny. He came through Capitol Factory the week he had made those comments about net neutrality, which was interesting because you're coming to one of the tech centers of Austin.
Okay.
And so he gave a great little talk, and I think there was kind of some buzz in the air about who was going to be the first question asked about net neutrality.
Wow,
and
yeah.
Sure enough, it was asked, and he launched into it, and it's just a matter of it's this fast lane versus slow lane debate, which people are a lot of talking about. It's data throttle. Are we going to give these cable companies the ability to close out the little guys? And coming from a startup perspective, yeah, I mean it's going to be tough to compete with these massive streaming companies, content streaming companies, if they have the ability to sell you your service at a faster rate and incentivize Netflix to stream your content faster and things like that. So it's it's a really wish-washy subject, and the bigger news is that in 20 days, to get back to the news, in 20 days FCC will vote on whether they're going to
This is so interesting.
reclassify internet, or it's called the Title II reclassification, which would pretty much make internet a public utility. And that will kind of be a big stamp on, this isn't going to happen and we're going to have net neutrality. And it'll be a big victory for internet users everywhere. So that's exciting news. But the thing is, this week, FCC chairman, I forget his name. I couldn't even tell you right now. I want to say it's Wheeler. Chairman number one. I think it's Wheeler something, who, funny enough, used to be like a CEO of some cable company, I'm pretty sure. But it actually was leaked that they're going to go ahead and rule in favor and take the step and make internet a public utility, which will be huge. And this was leaked, right? So the vote will still happen in 20 days, and we'll see what happens. But
and this is like a national, the FCC. Do you know what that stands for? Federal Communications Commission or something?
So yeah. I believe so.
What is their authority? I mean, are they going to have a board of people vote on it? Is it going to be a public trial?
No, I think it's a board. And again, I'm not going to try and speak to too many details because I'm not as super familiar as I should be.
I mean,
but
it's what you know.
It's what you know. Christopher Walken, boom, dead grandma.
Boo.
The internet. It's a funny thing.
But it'll be interesting, and I think it speaks to the whole internet conversation we're having, and internet will constantly be continued to be integrated into our culture, whether we like it or not.
Let me ask you this. How do you feel about it becoming a public utility? And if it does, what are the effects of that? What does that mean for maybe not in the grand scheme.
Does it change what the internet is for us?
And in what ways? And let's think short term because who knows what fucking
you can't forecast.
No, I do think it should become a public utility. I think we're at this point where internet will be so pervasive that everybody will need access to it.
Yes.
Right. And make it a public utility is a step that direction. But on the flip side, it's also a step towards more regulation because once something's a public utility, it's more or less in the hands of the government. And at that point, and that's where a lot of hesitant on the cable side is do we really want to they claim that, we're handing the internet over to the government, which is not entirely true. And again, it's going to be a matter of, as we're not going to go into it, but where is it going to be?
But it's not entirely untrue.
But it's not entirely untrue because regulations will come down. And that's the ultimate fear is, it is definitely probably a Republican more side to less government, and so that's clearly the argument being made. But, I think it will become a public utility, and that will ultimately be a beneficial thing in the long term of creating, substantial access to internet everywhere. Mm-hmm. So
I think that'll be interesting too, because there will be a lot of push and pull between how regulation is laid down over the internet via, is the federal government going to be laying down all these regulations? Or are we going to have some sort of? I know that there are like international councils based on internet access and based on like how the internet kind of functions as a whole. So it's like, would the international approach kind of take it? And I'm sure that the government's not going to let up just like let control of it. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Neutrality will, definitely. But so that was kind of the first news thing I wanted to bring to the table. If anything, I just want to go ahead and give a shout out to Battle for the Net. Go check it out. It really lays the issue out well for you, and it breaks down the whole team cable, team internet, and the best part that
T-shirts and coffee mugs.
Right, exactly. The best part I'm going to advocate for, just as a gov major here at UT, is you can write your congressman. So do so, and get involved because it's going to become a political issue, whether we like it or not.